All right, we did it last week. We're going to try it again this week. 10 games in only 10 minutes. I'm notoriously long-winded, and this is a hell of a challenge here for Uncle Lou to try to get through 10 games in 10 minutes, basically a minute per game. I have already done some individual game previews. I've done Michigan and Penn State, and I've done Tennessee versus Missouri. So you can click back a video or two if you want to know my thoughts on those two games in particular. I did an individual video on each of those games. I've got a Florida State versus Miami preview coming up later today, as well as the Georgia versus Missouri hype and hate video. But there's a lot of other games this weekend that are interesting. There's going to be some crazy upsets this weekend, I think, by the way. I think there's going to be a lot of upset fan bases when they go to sleep Saturday night. But I've got a list of 10 games here that I haven't talked about yet, that I've got some thoughts on. I'm going to attempt to get through them in 10 minutes. So here we go. 10 games in 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes on the clock, please. Let's go. Alabama on the road at Kentucky, 12 o'clock. Alabama coming off a big win against LSU. Kentucky has seemingly fallen off the map after starting the season pretty well. They took a beating to Georgia a few weeks ago and have a hard time getting back up on their feet since then. Devin Leary, huge disappointment for Kentucky this year. He had the one good game against Tennessee. Other than that, it has not been good. It has not been good at all. I think Alabama, even coming off that big win, is going to roll on the road at Kentucky. I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama maybe starts off a little bit slow, but we've all seen those stats this week about their second half numbers. I think Alabama takes care of business on the road at Kentucky and covers the 10.5. Yeah, I think they cover the 10.5. Oh, okay, let's speed it along. Vanderbilt on the road at South Carolina coming up at noon. Vanderbilt has let me down this year. Big time. I made a bet in the offseason. The Vanderbilt win total for this season was at 3.5. I bet the over, meaning I needed Vandy to win 4 games or more. They won 2 of their first 3 games, and they haven't won a game since then. It has not been good. South Carolina's reeling as well. They have not looked good either. Very disappointing season for Shane Beamer in South Carolina. A lot of South Carolina fans extremely upset. Vanderbilt would have to win its next 2 games. They only have 2 games left. They have this one on the road at South Carolina, next week on the road at Tennessee. They'd have to win both of those games in order to hit that 4-win deal that I made the bet on. So I'm just losing that bet. That's all there is to it. And I do think South Carolina covers the 14-point spread at home and gets a big win. They're just a better team than Vandy. Vandy's horrible. I think Spencer Rattler will have a big game. Give me Carolina late of 14. Georgia Tech on the road at Clemson also comes on at noon. Georgia Tech been on a roll lately. Clemson finally got a decent win this past weekend at home against Notre Dame. So which one of these two teams can kind of keep the momentum going? Well, I actually trust Georgia Tech more in this spot, to be honest. Haynes King is playing well at quarterback, whereas Cade Klubnik can't get out of his own way at Clemson. Clemson won in spite of Cade Klubnik last week. Definitely not because of Cade Klubnik. Clemson's got a huge turnover issue. I think it's going to bite them again. I wouldn't be surprised to see Georgia Tech win this game outright. I'm definitely taking Georgia Tech in the 14.5 points. Arizona on the road at Colorado. Colorado, another team that nobody talks about anymore. They were, they won a couple of games in September and people lost their mind. They're just a terrible team. The quarterback is hurt. He's still playing, but he's hobbling around. Deion's not a football coach. He's more like a team mom with a gold whistle. Don't really know what he is. Arizona, a surprise team this year, not just record-wise, but they're actually a pretty good team. I do think Arizona wins the game on the road at Colorado, but I think it's going to be close. I'm actually going to take Colorado in the 10 points here. I think Arizona wins by a touchdown. Utah on the road at Washington, 3:30. Huge game in the Pac-12 here. Washington undefeated and trying to stay that way. They have not looked great since beating Oregon about a month ago. Utah comes into town. This will probably be the best defense that Washington has played. If this was at Utah, I might even consider picking Utah to win the game. Now, their offense has been bad this year. They haven't had their quarterback. The tight end has missed a ton of time. They have a hard time scoring points, but Washington has given up a lot of points lately. Utah's an 8.5-point underdog. I think Washington probably finds a way to win at home, but I'm going to take Utah on the 8.5 points. Oklahoma State on the road at Central Florida. Huge win for Oklahoma State last week in the Bedlam game against Oklahoma. A lot of people expecting a letdown this week for Oklahoma State, and this is a classic letdown spot. The good news for Oklahoma State, they're playing UCF, and their head coach is Goose Malzahn. I think the running game travels for Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State gets the job done at the road. I'll lay the 2.5. Rutgers at Iowa. I know this is a terrible game. This is the lowest point total in memory. 28 is the over-under on this game. That's the total number of points scored. You can bet over or under that amount. The number is 28. This is extremely low. The average number in college football is about 44, 45, 46 points. This is the lowest point total you can bet on in a college football game in decades. There's a ton of public money. Almost 80% of the bets on this game are on the under. I've been betting a long time. Give me the over. Vegas is going to cash in. I'll take the over 28. Rutgers on the road at Iowa. Auburn on the road at Arkansas. Arkansas got a win last week against a terrible Florida team. Now they come back home. Auburn comes in looking to end the season on a positive note. They play Bama next week, so that's a likely loss. Last chance for Auburn to win a game this season, and I think they do it. Auburn's a 2.5-point underdog. I think they get the win on the road at Arkansas. There's some problems going on at Arkansas. Could see some more coaching changes here. I've already made some. Could see some more at the end of the year. I think Hugh Freeze gets the win on the road at Arkansas. Florida on the road at LSU. Florida, since Steve Spurrier left, is 7-14 against LSU. Unbelievable. They dominated LSU for a long time. Not the case lately. LSU was something like 7-3 in the last 10 against Florida. They're 14-7 in the last 21. I think that keeps going. It looks like Jaden Daniels is going to play. Even if he didn't play, I would still take LSU. Nussmeier's a good quarterback, and he would carve that Florida defense up. Jaden Daniels will do the same. Florida's a horrific team. They're about to have their third straight losing season. I'll take LSU, lay the 14.5. Southern Cal on the road at Oregon. Oregon's a 15-point favorite. Southern Cal has fired their defensive coordinator. Too little, too late. They're a terrible defensive team, and I'm afraid that Caleb Williams may have entered give-up mode. I'm going to take Oregon at home to win huge. They're a 15-point favorite. I think they could win by twice that. I think Oregon wins by 4 scores here. Give me the Ducks, lay the points.